Hello and welcome to Supreme Racing League Top Division Round 5 in Spain. Now, I didn't have a massive amount of practice going into this. I had about a third of my normal practice time, which is a bit unfortunate, but I mean, these things happen. Busy week and it's just got away from me. Usually I put a lot more time in, but I just haven't had it this week. So I'm feeling a little bit rusty, a little bit underprepared, but I mean, shit happens, just got to deal with it, I guess. But just in the practice for the race, I found something quite interesting. It's not a bug or anything, it's just a bit of poor coding, but and then my fault as well. But it's coming in on an in-lap in a practice session online, and as you can see, I come into the pits now, and I hit one of the walls, but you can see I sink into the left wall, and I just pinball. Oh, it's dreadful. That is just awful. Like, with the pad lag, I couldn't correct it. Wow. I couldn't correct it fast enough. The pad wouldn't turn quickly enough. So I just ran with it, and it was just, wow. I was quite amazed by that. Anyway, coming into the first run of the session now. Obviously, this is where the track's probably the least fast, so it's slowest. The least grip on the track, and you know, you're going in blind on your first run almost anyway. So looking to just get the time in and see where we stand. Going to turn 1 now. If anything, braked a little bit early, but that was okay. A little bit of oversteer there. You can see I just dropped the steering angle a little bit, but you know, it didn't cost us that much, but it did compromise us a little bit into turn 3. Long right hand here. You see, just missed the apex with a tad of understeer there. Big kick of oversteer too as I tried to battle through the understeer. Braked a bit late there. Snatched that inside front, which means we run wide and just not the optimal line at all. Coming into here, we're a little bit tentative actually, and didn't take as much speed as we should have, but we're just trying to get the time in, so we're aware that we don't really want to fuck this up, because if the next one fucks up, then that's an issue. Braked a little bit too well, we lifted too much, didn't carry enough speed into turn 9, which meant we cut the corner a little bit. Coming to the last sector now, we're going to try and make up some time. Coming into here, kiss that really nice thing, carry the speed through the apex there, really nice tight line, controlling the back end. Into this final Mickey Mouse section now, and not too bad actually. Small lockup, a bit compromised, but you know there's always a tenth or two in there. So as a banker lap, that's not too bad. It's okay. You know, it's an 18.9. You know, it could always go a bit faster, but we'll wait for the end of the session to do that. These are the times. You can see Skeven's on fire. He's putting an 18.5 on his first run, so I know I'm not going to get pole. The gap is 4/10 to pole position right now, and I knew there was about 3/10 in the lap that I just did, and maybe a bit of track evolution as well means I could get on the front row, if not the second row. We're coming to the end of the session now, going out this final run. I think we're the first to cross the line on the final run, and just got to make sure you go through, not caution to the wind, but you've really got to put your balls on the line at this time in the session. You see we brake really late and deep there. We lost a little bit of time, but we got it back. You see it's give and take in 1, 2 and 3, but we're a little bit tight on the apex there. It means we've had to lift slightly into turn 3, which means, you know, it's half a tenth there on the table. Coming through here now, nice and tight, but not really getting the rotation we want, but it's not too bad. Again, you know, mediocre. Into here now, we brake a little bit early, still snatched an inside front and touched the curb unfortunately, which sort of cost us a tenth, but you know, that's my mistake. Coming into here now, way more aggressive this time, that's better. Bit more rotation, oh dear, we lost the rear, we lost a tenth and a half there. Into turn 9 now, really nice and smooth through there, no cutting, no early lifting. Gained 2/10, fantastic. Nice and tight now into turn 10. Get a decent exit actually, but unfortunately we just get a bit greedy there and lost the rear slightly. You see we're quite far out there and compromised then on the exit. Lost 2/10. Going into here, we know we're bottling it a little bit, and then we dropped another 10. Going into here, I don't know what I was doing, but way too early, hit the curb too slow, and what was a 4/10 advantage just turned into a 1.5 tenth, and that was so disappointing considering I dropped 2/10 in the first sector, did a blind in middle sector, except for that left-right part, and then dropped a load of time in the last sector as well. So I think we were on probably maybe for an 18.5 definitely, maybe 18.4 if we'd really nailed it, but we didn't nail it. So this is Skeven now. He comes across the line to improve by a tenth, but at the death of the session, Shamassi's come along and done an 18.2. He's absolutely blown everyone away. I'm half a second off pole, unfortunately. Again, there was an easy 4/10 in there. We just dropped it, so P2 or 3 would have been about where the pace is with a bit more practice. But you know, it's my own fault, unfortunately. So bit of a mountain to climb, middle of the grid, you know, danger zone, put it that way. But here we go, ready for the race now. 3, 2, 1. Big long hold, lights out, away we go. The Force India gets an interestingly quick start. Be looking into that one. But you can see it's just a complete log jam here. Can't go anywhere. I can't really go to the inside either because pit mat's there. Someone else is sticking their nose in, but I'm leaving them room. Pit mat leaves me room, which is fantastic. Bit of argy-bargy between the Force Indias, trying to get myself some clean air, but you know, just getting that understeer. Jamie Day looks to poke his nose up the inside, but we brake nice and late. Almost hit the back of the Force India jump start, but managed not to. Jamie Day's managed to get up the inside. Big moment for pit mat there, but we've managed to sneak back up the inside of Jamie Day, and he's had to back out the position there. Bit of a tow from pit mat as well. Middle of the road, just trying to block there, and yeah, so Jamie Day's just dropped back that little bit, and we're away. Pit mat now has had a really bad run coming down the back straight. Are we looking to make a move? I mean, at this point in the race, it would be ambitious, and considering he's got the inside line, I mean, it would require pretty aggressive cut back, but not on at all. But at this point, it looks like Skeevan's hit the curb. But Force India smashed into Skeevan. Then the Force India teammates have come together, and we've gone round them. We didn't know whether it was going to ghost or not, so we just braked instead. But we know this Force India in front's got damage to his front wing, and you can see that he's running wide there, so he's got to pit at some point. Hopefully this lap, and he does. He almost catches pit mat out in the process, but pit mat gets away with it. And here we go. If you look closely, this is pure slipstream. You can see the engine is nice and cool, and this is what slipstream looks like. Oh, fantastic! Look at that. Didn't quite get close enough to make a move, but we position ourselves on the outside, make pit mat run quite tight, and he's lost the rear actually, and we've gone back up the inside into turn 3 now. And we've got the position, so that was quite a good move, and just nothing that I did, just pit mat accidentally losing the rear. Looking back at the start now, this is super slow-mo. If you look at my mirror, you'll see the Force India goes before the lights even change, and long before everyone else does. You can see him just in the corner of my mirror, and then obviously you'll see the proximity arrow as it comes. So you can see all the top 5 kind of get an equal start, and then Mr. Force India comes flying through. Now the rules say that you really should back off and give all the positions. That you shouldn't gain any in the first place, but should you gain any, you should give them all back straight away. But he hasn't, so this is real time. I mean, that's obvious really. And what he should have done there is lift off and keep his position, not gain what he did. A couple of laps later, lap 4, Skeevan leaves the session after he's had an issue and retired, so he gained a position out of that, but we know what that means. Unfortunately, Skeevan's had an issue, so he's retired, but that means that we now have the slipstream glitch, and it's okay at the moment because we're in clean air and we're not behind anyone. But in the whole melee of the first lap and everything, Shimasi has gone. I mean, look at that gap. He's on the main straight already. I think we lost 5 seconds to him on the first lap with all the shenanigans that went on, and then he's just pulled away very, very quickly. At this point, I saw how close pit mat was and thought, look, he's just quicker than me. Let's let him go and see how quick he can pull away, because at this point I was just fed up at defending from him. Thought he would be further ahead by the end of the straight, but he wasn't. So a bit compromised into turn 1. But I just thought, look, I'll just follow him. You know, he's all over me. We'll see how it goes. That's lap 6. At the end of lap 6 now, we've actually stayed with him. So unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out. I thought he would pull away and we'd be back in clean air, but we've stuck with him. And coming onto the straight now, DRS open, just checking the engine. 118 degrees there. Oh, that's lovely, that slipstream, isn't it? Absolutely nothing. Just DRS. So, I mean, I rest my case. The glitch is still here after over a year. It's still here, still only affecting some people, still affecting the same fucking people, and just wasn't closing at all. Not that I'm in a position to overtake pit mat at all, but within half a second my engine's only about 119 degrees, 120 degrees right now, and not closing at all. And I mean, it's clear to see that from the first lap I get massive tow, and these laps just get nothing even with the DRS open. So we're at half a tenth closer this time. See the engine temperature? Nothing at all. So that's the end. That's the start of lap 9. By the end of lap 9, Pit Matt's his tyres are gone, and we've caught up to him a little bit. He's actually holding us up now, but I think he's going to pit this lap. As you see, he runs wide there and he throws in the towel. At this point, I think, right, okay, the only choice I've got is to just, because Jamie Day's undercut us as well, is just to go hell for leather, flat out now for 2 laps, and then pit at the end of lap 12. So here we are, into lap 12. We've gone as fast as we can on our in laps, and absolutely on the limit there onto the pit entry. Onto the set of hard tyres. Now pit the same lap as Shimasi. We were 11.4 going in, so you know that first stint has really lost us quite a lot of time there. But anyway, hoping for a good stop. Get a decent stop actually, but I mean a little bit of a delay on getting going again, but not too bad. Pit Matt's going to pass us now. Off he goes. Not so bad. I expected to be a couple of seconds behind after his undercut of a few laps too. But after that was it. That's the last I saw of Pit Matt. Someone lit a torch under his arse and went, but in actual fact he had a 5-second penalty from the pit stops he sped in the pit lane somehow. So he was just focused on getting away and getting that time away from me, and I had nothing, couldn't respond at all. And I kept, problems with consistency again, not quite hooking up each lap and just dropping tenths here and there. And eventually, look, the gap is 7.5 seconds. He just absolutely drove the wheels off his Toro Rosso and left me for dead. I mean, that's, yeah, it's not brilliant. It's not nice to be just left, but what can you do really? But at this point, my rhythm was alright. I was feeling okay. I was only a tenth off my PB, considering I've done that many laps on these tyres. So lap 12, pretty much settled for 3rd place. I was happy with the way I was driving now. I wasn't so much in the first part of the stint, but happy now. But hang on, the gap's gone down to 4.6, so it was 7.8 or whatever it was, now it's 4.6, so you can see we're really closing on Pit Matt, and my thought now is, right, he's got a puncture. He has to have a puncture, there's something wrong. And here we go, closing right up with him, you can see he's losing the rear there, and I can confirm, front left puncture for Pit Matt on the last but one lap. And I couldn't believe my luck.
Oh my days. Gifted 2nd place through a puncture. I'm doing quite nicely, thank you.
Now you see my tyre was alright there, so you can see there's a lot more in the car. You could have pushed a bit harder, but it got to a point where I couldn't push, as we said before in the races, couldn't push 100%. Just had to back off because I kept making mistakes, and Pit Matt's just got that experience and talent to be able to push so hard for so many laps, but unfortunately it's not gone his way this time. But I just thought, right, okay, let's go 100% on this last lap, and you can see we're almost a tenth up in the first sector. It's not our fastest sector. It is our fastest sector, sorry, but it's only on this lap, which is the last lap of the race. The tyres are dead. We're on minimal fuel. That's fine. But in this middle sector, look back at the race director. I picked up 3/10. You can see that it's taken us 33 laps, but we've nailed turn 9 eventually. And coming into the braking zone here, we're 4/10 up on our PB. So it just shows, as Shimasi wins the race, it just shows that if we could push, we'd be able to fight with people like Pit Matt and things, but we can't hold it together for a whole race, so we've just got to dial it back and then only push when we can, because we just haven't got it. We haven't got the talent to be able to push the whole race. But going around the final corner now, as Shimasi wins the race, we do our fastest lap on the final lap. It's just, I can't believe it. Fair play to Shimasi though, he's dominated the whole race. Obviously, a few of us got held up, but that takes nothing away from him. He led every lap flawlessly, so, what can you say? He's done very, very well there. And his pink McLaren Honda, and his red ERS warning light, which is just still ridiculous. That really does get to me actually, but looking back at the race director, I added up the times, and it's like I just lost so much time in being so inconsistent, and it was because I was trying to push so hard to try and catch Pit Matt, not really driving, just pushing really, really hard. And of course then once I'd calmed down a little bit, the gap started to balance out, and it, sort of hovered around 6 to 7 seconds for a little while, until unfortunately he had his puncture, and that dropped him. It only dropped him 1 place. We've still finished 20 seconds behind Shimasi, so those are my times. As you can see, quite consistent in the first stint. Once we cleared pit map, we had quite good times as well. And then in the second stint, 23s, all these 23s and 22s, high 22s was going on. And the last lap of the race, we go and do like a 1:21.7. So you can see that you can see where the time was lost. So much time lost in those laps. And what really needs to happen now is, we can have pace here and there. We just need to be able to push, a bit more each lap, be able to turn that wick up a little bit more. But at the moment, as you can see, if I do that, I get one good lap and about 4 bad laps. One good lap, 4 bad laps. So as you can see, towards the end of the race there, 22.445, did a 23 when I realised pit man's thing, and I thought, well, pit man's behind me, I've got nothing to lose, may as well push for the last lap. Pushed really hard on the last lap and got a 21.7. So you can see the seconds, you can count up the seconds there. Of all those time I lost on the hard tyres, and the time we lost behind the Force India at the start as well, we should have given the positions back, and all the melee that happened there. Shimasi would have had a bit more of a race on his hands, but still, he was just coasting. He was Verstappen style, just completely backing off. You could tell because he was just sometimes putting in fastest laps for fun. So he might have had a bit less of a gap, but I think at the end of the day, he'd have just blown everyone away anyway. So unfortunately, not many people finished, but he still dominated the race regardless of who finished and who didn't. So it's a very good job, and we just weren't quick enough. That's fundamentally what it was. We just weren't quick enough, and something we've got to work on, the consistency and the pace. So hopefully we'll be able to do that in AOR, but we'll see. In the meantime, if you enjoyed that, visit supremeracingleague.com to find out more about us.